Hey, this is Nicky G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're going to talk about cards I'm buying around the set release of Streets of a New Capenna. Before we get too deep into story time, then finance time, guys, subscribe to my channel, alright? I've had all kinds of adventures, and you don't want to go till the end of your days without hearing the stories of others. And my stories, I think, are fairly interesting. Well, I bought a few cards today. I like to peruse the local Facebook groups, Craigslist, to see if people are selling collections. Sometimes I just like to hear their stories or talk to them. So I ran across a gentleman who was selling a complete set of Tempest, Weatherlight, Fallen Empires, a bunch of really awesome old cards. This is a bit outside my price range to go ahead and buy a full set of Tempest, but I decided to message the guy and tell him what a cool thing that was, and if he had singles or something, I'd be happy to take a look. So he sent me a bunch of photos and arranged a time to look at things. Now I'm just a normal sized man, I figured I would text my magic bros and say, hey, I'm going to this address, so if I get murdered, you can find my body later or whatever. So with that out of the way, I met the seller at his house. We were in a vestibule area with light from a porch window just kind of filtering through the dust onto an old table filled with binders and boxes of bulk cards. I love old cards. They make me happy, especially if they're in good condition. So we got to talking and the guy had a brace on his arm. Recently he had lost the use of that arm in some kind of industrial accident, and I could already tell it was starting to atrophy a little bit. It was already smaller than the other arm. So the guy kind of had an active workers' comp case and was selling cards to get him through the other side. I kind of started empathizing with the guy and just saw where he was coming from. I feel the pain of selling old cards. I'm also a collector, Selling anything when you don't want to due to a really terrible situation kind of tugged on my heart a little. So this guy had a lot of pride, He was an OG and he knew what the cards were worth. He was not willing to let them go for a song. There were cards from Revised, Tempest, Vision, Stronghold, Mirage, even some beta cards. So even though he needed money, he wasn't going to just kind of give them away to just anybody. So I kind of appreciated that. So I took a look. All the cards were in great shape. Revised 5th edition. These cards were really excellently taken care of. So making deals like this is kind of an art form anyway. We know what retail price is, but if I wanted to pay retail, I'd just pay retail where there's buyer protection and customer service. But if I was going to lowball, then the seller may as well just buy list them or sell them on TCG Player for 20% off. So we ended up working out a deal. I got a fantastic demonic tutor from Revised, an enlightened tutor from Mirage, Necropotence from 5th edition, burgeoning from Stronghold, a couple reanimates from Tempest. I can say that the Necropotence, if I'm saying that right, some people say Necropotence, and one of the reanimates are in absolute mint condition. The rest are light play, burgeoning probably maybe moderate play. I was very happy. I gave the gentleman a fair price that he was happy with, and I made a friend. Perhaps we're going to do some business in the future as well. So anyway, I also buy from TCG Player obviously as well. So I bought some cards from the list that people seem to be opening a fair amount of from New Capenna. Twilight Prophet is $11 right now, and I'm totally on board with that price. As I sit here typing this, the price is currently creeping back up. Cheapest on TCG Player is back up to about $12.44. So Twilight Prophet is 2 black for a creature. It's a vampire cleric with flying. It has the Ascend mechanic. So basically if you get 10 or more permanents on the board, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. It's a 2/4. Fantastic card for a vampire deck or life gain deck or just a lot of decks in general. Dryad Arbor was recently reprinted in the Time Spiral Remastered and the list. This card was once $15. If you have a need for it, this is the only Forest Dryad in MTG. Now's a good time to buy it. It's fetchable, alright? Right now it's about $3. Mikaeus the Unhallowed is 3 black for a legendary creature zombie cleric. It's a 5/5. Has Intimidate. Can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or creatures that share a color with it. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. So we know what the Undying mechanic is. This card is currently $21 on TCG Player, and I guarantee it won't stay there. The other versions of this card are up around $30 to $35. I've seen this card go as high as $40, and I think this is going to creep up very quickly. Kindred Discovery is an excellent card in any tribal deck using blue, and is actually really great in a Talran deck, so you name Drake. Kindred Discovery is 3 blue for an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. This card is currently around $20, which is a little steep, but it had been closer to $40 in May of 2021 as per MTG Goldfish. Alright, Selfless Spirit is $5, so that's basically the cost of a pack. So you got to say to yourself, look, if I opened a pack of whatever and inside was a Selfless Spirit, would I be happy with the purchase? I would say yes. This is 1 and a white for a creature, Spirit Cleric. It's a 2/1, very aggressive stat line, also has flying. Sacrifice Selfless Spirit, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. You don't have to tap it, you just sacrifice it at instant speed, and you can save your stuff from a board wipe. This little spirit slots into quite a few white decks. Has flying, it's efficient. If your deck has recursion, you can create a tough board state for your opponents to get through. Sidisi Undead Vizier. So this video features a lot of black cards. 3 black for a legendary creature. It's a Zombie Naga 4/6. Death Touch also has Exploit. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. When Sidisi Undead Vizier exploits a creature, you may search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So you can get this card for $4 right now. If you have any recursion, blink, ETB synergy in your deck, this card is fantastic. This can get you your combo piece or any other game ender. It can be blinked or recurred for max ETB value. So those are some of the cards that I purchased recently, and I just want you all to share in the incredible value. So now what am I planning on buying from New Capenna? Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to buy these when they're generally the cheapest, and that's around 2 weeks post-release. Of course, as with any of the cards on here, they may explode in value, they may tank in value, but if I'll play them in decks, it might just be worth it to buy them and worry about it later. First off, the Triomes, or whatever they're calling them from this set, are going to be Commander staples. If you have fetch lands, then these get even better. You can cycle them if you don't need the land. I'll be getting a few of each for sure. I did a whole deck tech on Agnes. This is a great build around Commander, and I'll be getting the regular version, not the fancy version, because I have no idea what's going on in that art. Urabrask, Heretic Praetor is 3 red for a legendary creature. It's a Phyrexian Praetor. It's a 4/4. Haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn. So this guy has haste. He gives you an extra impulse draw and makes your opponent's first draw into just an impulse draw. This can really mess with their minds. Scheming Fence is a white and a blue for a creature, a human citizen. It's a 2/3. As Scheming Fence enters the battlefield, you may choose a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of the chosen permanent can't be activated. Scheming Fence has all activated abilities of the chosen permanent except for loyalty abilities. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate those abilities. So just so you know, Soul Ring is a non-land permanent with an activated ability. Just saying. You can also mess up your opponent's equipment synergies, all kinds of stuff. This thing is a great little hate bear. Giada, Font of Hope. This is 1 and a white for a legendary creature angel. It's a 2/2. It has flying and vigilance. So right there, I mean, this is a pretty awesome creature. Kind of vanilla for Commander, but let's read the rest of the text. Each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. Tap, add white, spend this mana to cast an angel spell. I haven't built a deck around this, but if it stays cheap, I might build a mono white angel deck. I might just buy 2 of them. This is an awesome card. Definitely buying the Quiza Showcase. I did a deck tech on this one. I really like the power level for this commander. It's a little scary when it comes out on the battlefield. People get like a little hesitant and they want to kill you quick. However, I think it's powerful enough to compete in some casual metas, but not so powerful that you're comboing off on turn 4. Even the score is going into any wheel decks that use cards like Sky Scribing and Prosperity. Even the score is X for a blue instant. The spell costs blue less to cast if an opponent has drawn 4 cards this turn. Draw X cards. Great in a wheel deck to help you out. Void Rend. I'm not 100% sold on this card. I don't think it'll be as good as it looks. I'd rather have Anguished Unmaking, but in budget decks it may make the cut. It can hit anything that isn't a land, but there's also this card called Vindicate, so Vindicate can hit lands too, so I'm a little torn on this one. An offer you can't refuse. I'm going to make him an offer you can't refuse. That was a terrible Godfather impression. So I don't think this is as good as Swan Song, but I think it's interesting. It might make it in some budget decks. Angel of Suffering. So this is 3 black for a creature Nightmare Angel. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. It's a 5/3. This is a pretty cool card. I think it's interesting in self-mill decks. If you want your graveyard to swell with Ranks of the Dead, this Angel's okay. It's a $1 mythic, so even if it doesn't make the cut now, I'm sure there'll be some future commander this slots into. Rabble Rousing. This is an interesting and a go-wide token deck, especially one like Ginny Fae, something that replaces your 1/1s with better tokens. This is a really interesting card. Devilish Valet, I think, is better than it looks. This goes great in decks where you're looping creatures in and out, Kiki Jiki, Zealous Conscripts, those types of things. But if you have that, you're going to win anyway. But decks where you have a bunch of creatures entering at one time, stuff that uses Siege Gang Commander or something like that, this thing's going to get really big really quick. I like Cormella Glamour Thief. It's 1 blue, black, and a red for a legendary creature, Vampire Rogue. It's a 2/4 with haste. So you add 1 generic mana tap, and you can add Grixis. Spend this mana only to cast instant and or sorcery spells. And when this creature dies, return up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This is an interesting mana dork that can get us Cyclonic Rift back to our hand. That's what I want it to do. I'm not sure what deck this goes in, but I like it a lot. Jaxus, the Troublemaker, 3 red for a legendary creature. It's a human warrior. It's a 2/3. So red, tap, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. It also has Blitz for 1 and a red. So this seems like a powerful ETB attack trigger commander. I like the mechanic. I think it would work great in a graveyard deck like Feldon of the Third Path or anything where you have a ton of recursion. I like the comic book art too. I like everything about this card. I don't think it's going to be, commander powerhouse or anything, but I like it. Structural Assault is an interesting artifact board wipe. I'm not sure what deck this goes in, but it's a very powerful effect. Anything that says destroy all artifacts has my attention. Maybe a Toralf deck because it's dealing a bunch of damage to creatures as well. Undercover Operative is a nice spin on clone. Comes with a shield counter if the creature it's copying is under your control. I tend to buy any clones because I always want to make a clone deck. I still haven't had the impetus to do it yet, but I like to have a lot of clones on hand. Cut of the Prophets. This is an interesting spin on Damnable Pact, although it can't be used to finish off an opponent with a massive amount of mana. I think I'll be getting a copy. There's a lot of black decks that want to draw cards. There's a lot of black decks that want to lose life as well. I love buying cards. I love finding the hidden treasures from people's youth. I love hearing their stories. I once drove 3 hours one way to buy a complete set of OG Innistrad. I've met people in parking lots, gotten literal garbage bags full of cards, and I get them home, sift through, and find a Force of Negation. It's a true story. Anyways, let me know what you guys are excited to buy. Let me know if there are any value cards that are flying under the radar right now. It's going to be Nikki G from Better Commander signing off.